You know, people always ask me where this journey began, and the more I've thought about it, the more I've realized it was in Sunday school when I was 7 or 8 years old. It was the first time I learned about Sodom and Gomorrah. And I can remember the teacher trying to get the cloth flaming asteroid pieces to stick to the felt board depicting Sodom, while she explained that God destroyed these 2 thriving cities, these 2 metropolises, for the sins they were committing. She told us that homosexuality was the ultimate abomination, causing the holy genocide raining down from heaven. And I think that was the moment it started, the moment where I became afraid of the word homosexual. Years of instruction after that would further this ideology in me as I took these beliefs to a whole new level. Gays were the enemy. And then I met a girl. She was a friend that I had no clue was in the closet, until she broke down one night outside of karaoke and told me in tears that she had just come out to her family and had been brutally disowned. She had been excommunicated from her entire life, and 2 words had changed it all. 2 simple words: I'm gay. She confided in me, but my reaction wasn't any more loving than her parents. And after we parted ways, a funny thing happened. For the first time in my life, I was moved enough to question that little voice inside my head that told me that this precious girl crying on my shoulder wasn't abominable, or scary, or bad. Call it the Holy Spirit, call it a grand epiphany, but somehow in that moment, I knew that my life and my faith had wandered drastically off course. So I began to ask myself questions. What is that voice inside me? If it isn't God, then what could it be? And in a moment of crystal clear awareness, I knew that I was facing something entirely different. It was my very own inner Pharisee. It was a religious zealot and a pious presence inside of me that told me that I was better than she was. And I knew I had to get rid of it somehow. You know, I think the thing that impresses me the most about Jesus is that he was the ultimate example of empathy. He became something he wasn't and walked in our shoes. And it was a beautiful act of compassion. After my friend left, my mind was racing, and the real questions presented themselves. How could I understand even remotely what was truth and what were stereotypes? Whatever I did, it would have to be drastic. I would have to shock the Pharisee out of myself in the most radical way possible, but how? I realized that the only thing I could do was to understand for myself what effect those 2 little words would have on my own life. I needed to feel the fear. I needed to face the possibility of rejection. And I needed to see what it felt like to live as a modern-day second-class citizen. So I decided to come out as a gay man. I decided to walk in the shoes of the people I had always discriminated against, to see for myself how the label of gay would change my life. We live in a society and a country that claims to be civilized and modern and enlightened, but what I found was anything but. This book is about the story of my year. It's a story about loss, but also about profound gain. It's a story about a guy that thought he had his life and faith all figured out until something drastic happened that threw everything into question. It's a story about people, the people who saved my faith, but more importantly, the people that saved my life. It's about the moment that changed it all, the moment where the tables were turned and everywhere I went, I met Jesus in drag.